Bon for Seal. I am the host, Real Joe J. Neal. You're in a meal day with me, and it is that time of the month. I'm with Ahsha from the Red Corps. We are talking about human trafficking. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I've been fine. How you been for the last time that we've did our monthly talk?
Yeah, been good. We've been busy, getting ready for the holiday season, of course, like everyone else, and getting ready for our annual gala in January. So that's months of planning in the works. Getting ready to close up. Get in on that here at the end of January. So.
Oh, okay. What will we be discussing today for the month of December?
Well, our focus for this month of December, with it being Christmas time and gift giving and all that fun stuff, we're talking about the gift of dignity. And maybe dignity isn't a word we think about often, but I think we all know what it feels like to have dignity or to not have dignity. December is the season marked with the joys of gift giving and receiving. We all look forward to the blessings and celebrations with our families. But the gift of human dignity is an acknowledgement of the intrinsic value of every human being. And we're all endowed with certain rights, and we believe protecting these rights are important. However, the victims of human trafficking have been stripped of this gift and have been forced to forget that they have value and worth. Unfortunately, many of the survivors and victims believed or do believe the lies of the traffickers, telling they're unable to have the life that they desire because they're being controlled, they're being stripped of that dignity, and unfortunately they're unable to see the beauty of the holidays because of that. So this month we're actually shouting out to one of our sister partners that's way up in Muskogee, Oklahoma.
Okay.
The organization is called RISE, and RISE is a great nonprofit organization that helps survivors have a home to go to be rehabilitated, to learn life skills again. However, the thing that's unique about RISE is it's that our only shelter in Oklahoma that accepts survivors that are under the age of 18.
The only one?
The only one, yeah, that we're aware of. There's a lot of other shelters, but the majority of them focus on 18 or older. RISE takes in basically kids, those that are under 18 that have been rescued out of human trafficking. But the more amazing part is to realize that she only has 7 beds for the state. And she's always full, and she always has a waiting list. So we try and support them, whenever we can. And talking about the gift of dignity, we came to realize that unfortunately last week somebody broke into the RISE organization, onto their secure grounds, broke through their security fence, and unfortunately broke into the van that they used to take the girls to their doctor's appointments and other places, to church, that kind of stuff. Broke into that van, stole things out of it, broke the locks, and siphoned the gas out of it. So unfortunately, as I'm sure you could probably understand, that decreased the safety, and the feeling of safety for those girls there.
Yes.
So we're asking in honor of them and for the month of dignity to give to them, to be able to fix their security gate, to be able to fix their van and the locks there, and to be able to restore safety and the dignity.
We're going to take a short commercial break, and we'll be right back with some more of this interview with the Red Corps right here on your station. And we're back with more of this interview with the Red Corps right here on your station. Do they have surveillance cameras or anything like that? I mean, will they be willing to accept donations as far as that? I mean, because it is a security issue.
Right. I'm not sure if they have security cameras, but I know they do have a locked security gate that was broken into.
Right.
So they're having to refix the gate, and then also, of course, all the locks on the van and that kind of stuff. So you can go, anybody that wants to give can go directly onto their website, which is www.riseshelter.org. and give directly to them, or if they want to give to the Red Cord and mark it for Rise, just let us know that it needs to be up to Rise. We'll definitely make sure that donation gets up there.
Do you happen to know any reason why we only have one particular shelter like that in the state of Oklahoma?
So opening shelters for kids under 18, there's a lot of red tape, if you will. There's a lot of scrutiny. There's a lot of laws that have to be followed, a lot of inspections for a facility to be state certified for kids. And so part of it's resources. A lot of it actually is resources, but the bigger issue with any shelter is being able to staff it appropriately. So the trauma that human trafficking survivors go through is unlike any other trauma. I've had some say that it's like PTSD for war vets times 10.
I believe that.
Yeah. So finding people who, counselors and house moms and stuff like that, to be able to appropriately be able to rehabilitate these people is probably the biggest demand, the hardest part of finding that, because working with human trafficking survivors is not for the weak or the wary.
The reason why I asked that question is because, for our state, we have the money to build child prisons and to overly staff them, but you can't seem to find solutions or resources to help the problem before they even get there.
Right.
That's what's mind-boggling to me. I mean, where do our taxpayer money really actually being used for? Because why would you put a child that knows for a fact that has been through situations that normal children haven't been through, so your main solution is to lock them up,
right?
Instead of helping them take care of the problem or the issue that they have, the easiest way is to lock them up. And the more you lock up, you have these private owners that are making money off of us as taxpayers to put them away when you could just treat them. So that's why when you said that we only have one in the state, and we're a state of 4 million people, so for one organization to have just 7 beds when we have a lot of kids in this state alone have a lot of issues, and we don't have no resources to help them, but we have resources to lock them up, and that's what's mind-boggling to me. And is there anything that we could do as far as, like, say for instance Lawton, is there anything that we could do as far as going to the city council? Is there anything that we could do as far as coming together and trying to see if there's a solution that we can do to even have beds like that in I can never get that word right. Muskogee. Here in Lawton, because here in Lawton we have that same problem. It's not being talked about enough, but I know it's there. I know some teenagers that have issues, but they have nowhere to go.
Right. And so a lot of times
we're going to take a short commercial break, and we'll be right back with some more of this interview with the Red Cord right here on your station. And we're back with more of this interview with the Red Cord right here on your station.
Opened a whole big old Pandora's
That's
box,
why we're here to have this discussion.
So we didn't even have the term human trafficking and the actual TVPA, which is the Trafficking Victims Act, until the year 2000. So I know to some that seems like a really long time ago, but for me it's not. I know it's about 20 years ago, but we really only had that law that helped since the year 2000. So getting everybody educated about human trafficking versus, that's just a child prostitute, has taken time. It's taken time to educate our communities. It's taken time to educate our police, our first responders, our judges, everybody that's involved with all of this, that there is no such thing as a child prostitute. A child cannot consent to sex. Period. Right? So unfortunately, a lot of times when kids are found or rescued from a human trafficking situation, sometimes it's, they can't go back to the home. Maybe it's happening in the home. Maybe it's happening with a relative. So maybe they are able to eventually go back home. But the trauma that a person has been through Just like anybody that's gone through any kind of trauma, you can't just turn it off and turn it on the second you've been rescued, or the second you leave war, or the second your abuser is dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if it's happened, your body keeps that score.
Yeah.
Your body keeps that score. And so obviously reuniting them with their families is key if that's available. Unfortunately, it's not a lot of times, so a lot of times they end up back into DHS services, and unfortunately there's a high incident of being re-trafficked or re-traumatized in our DHS system, so there's a brokenness there. But as far as having an actual shelter here in Lawton, Oklahoma, like I've said before, yes, we needed one yesterday, right?
Absolutely.
And we know we have supporters out there who've said, here's my land, here's my house, let's do this. It goes back to, can we do it the right way? We can open a house, we can bring in all the food, we can bring in some people who have a really good heart that live day in and day out with our survivors, but we have to have those key individuals that are actually able to help rehabilitate them. So we're talking trauma-informed counselors who have experience. The last thing we want to have happen is a victim or a survivor to sit down with a counselor and have the counselor traumatized based on the survivor's story, right?
Right.
So having that kind of help, whether it's from the state, whether it's from individual, counseling organizations, is something that we need to look at as Lawton, as Oklahoma, as a state. We've talked a lot about mental health.
Yes.
And that's kind of a buzzword right now, but it's true. It's true. So there's a lot to be said there. I think, the mission of the Red Cord, we're really on the prevention side of things. What can we do to start educating and preventing kids from even getting into this, being susceptible, being vulnerable? So that looks like, as a community, how do we build up our homeless youth? How do we help those who are in DHS? How do we help those who are from single parent families? How do we help our LGBTQ community?
We're going to take a short commercial break, and we'll be right back with some more of this interview with the Red Cord right here on your station. And we're back with more of this interview with the Red Cord right here on your station.
And a lot of that's just awareness,
yes,
education.
Yes.
This is what human trafficking is. This is how this happens. This is how you could get caught up into it. That's where it's got to start. But you can say that all day long, but a child's still homeless, or they're still couch surfing.
Right.
So what do we do about that? How do we have the resources ultimately to give dignity, but to give hope for a future? Because if there's no hope for a future, it's hard to look past tomorrow.
Absolutely, because without kids, there is no us. They are our future.
Right.
We're looking at our future presidents and congressmen and doctors and lawyers and everything else in between that makes us continue to live as we live.
Right.
So if we're not protecting our children, then that says a lot about us.
Right.
But the thing that I look at, and I watch a lot of TV, and I do a lot of research, and sometimes children of sex trafficking, they look for the help, and there's no help there. The people that you think are helping you are really just exploiting you.
Right,
They're just there for a paycheck, and it's like, well, where do you go? And then, they feel like, well, if there's nobody there, I might as well just go back to what I was doing. So
right.
You feel like you lost that person forever. So when they get to my age, they have no hope.
Right.
So we try to cut that off now. That's the reason why I brought that up about Lawton, because not a lot of people from Lawton can make it all the way to Muskogee.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
Have someone come here and counsel or whatever.
Right.
So what can we do as far as a community? I know I'm just asking as far as the community itself. What can we do amongst ourselves to make that happen?
Right. Well, that's a lot.
It's mind-boggling, because you look at everything that they ask for taxpayer money for this and for that, and it's like, okay, why don't you just solve the problem that we have right now when you see it, but you ignore it?
Right.
You know.
So reporting is key. right? Knowing
Right.
how to report. And it's not our community's responsibility to investigate and,
No.
all that kind of stuff to see, ooh, is this kid being trafficked? We're all given that sixth sense that we know when something's not right. Or we have a child confide into us what's going on at home, right? I can tell you story after story of teachers that I've talked to in Lawton, of them having students confide into them what's going on in their personal life. And maybe it's not trafficking, maybe it's a home of domestic violence or drug use or what have you, and maybe that's why they've left their home, but when they leave that home, that they're then vulnerable for even more, right? Just for everyday life, living, food, shelter, water. Those are the things the traffickers are going to come in and be the rescuer.
Right.
Here's some food, here's some shelter, here's
I got you.
Right.
I'm gonna take care of you.
Right.
You're safe in my hands.
Right.
Right.
So education, awareness, reporting is key, and that's really what we've been doing here in Lawton, Oklahoma, and Southwest Oklahoma for the last 4 years, is just educating our community what it looks like, how to report it, and the fact that it's here. We can't keep our eyes closed any longer, and our hope is that at some point we can open a shelter. And I can tell you the majority of the shelters and the human trafficking organizations that are fighting against this and fighting for our kids.
We're going to take a short commercial break, and we'll be right back with some more of this interview with the Red Court right here on your station. And we're back with more of this interview with the Red Court right here on your station.
We're all nonprofit. The majority of us are nonprofit. So I guess if this is something that's heavy on somebody's heart and they're not sure what to do, support a nonprofit that's fighting this.
Yes.
Ultimately, right?
Right.
If you live here in Southwest Oklahoma, invite the Red Court to come and educate your group, whether it's your church group, your,
school,
your school, your mom's wine group, your, whatever. Everybody needs to know,
right.
Because so many times we hear people say, oh, well, it's so frustrating that, we see these traffickers get off and they don't get time in prison, and our laws are changing. It's getting better. But ultimately, a jury is the one that decides the fate of a trafficker.
Absolutely.
And if our jury doesn't understand that there's no such thing as a child prostitute, or understands the trauma bond that a victim can have with her pimp or trafficker, then they're going to go. It's going to be her fault. It's going to be her dumb choice that she did this.
Right.
And so that's key. But if we really, really, and this was our topic last month, if we really, really want to hit this hard, we got to stop the demand. We have to stop people buying our children. Period.
That's just,
and that means calling people out for buying our children, for participating in prostitution, air quotes. And I agree with you about not throwing everyone in prison. I can't think of one man or woman that wakes up just randomly one day and decides they want to buy a child for sex.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We're not made that way.
Nah.
So it's a slow fade, it's a process, and it's something that people, some majority of the time, can be rehabilitated from, right? There's some out there that can't and probably need to be in prison. But let's not throw them in jail. Let's figure out how to restructure their brain, right? Let's create safe communities like we have with AA and NA, and those communities. There is a group in Lawton that is Pornography Anonymous. They fight those who are addicted to pornography.
Oh, okay.
And that's huge.
Didn't even know that.
Right? Yeah.
Didn't even know that.
Yeah. So, so somebody gets arrested for buying a child. Yeah, you probably need to pay for that.
Oh yeah,
right?
Of course.
But you probably also need to have some support of restructuring your brain, for the hope of a future for them. But the biggest issue is fighting the demand, not tolerating it.
Yeah. That is true. So what other events that y'all have coming up outside the gala?
Well, we have our monthly meeting this Sunday night.
Okay.
Second Sunday of every month at the gala, or at the Hilton, at 6 p.m. We'll be talking more about the Gift of Dignity, what's going on with the gala, that kind of stuff. Our gala tickets are on sale. The gala is January 25th at 6 o'clock at the Hilton, and the theme there is Shackles to Stilettos. And so we're going to be showing, we're going to have kind of a display of the history of slavery, from shackles of the, Atlantic slave trade all the way through time to modern day abolitionists like us and like our keynote speaker, Tim Ballard from Operation Underground Railroad.
We're going to take a short commercial break, and we'll be right back with some more of this interview with the Red Corps right here on your station. And we're back with more of this interview with the Red Corps right here on your station.
So it'll be interesting. We've got some really cool things that have been given to us from the slave days, the slave trade days. So it'll be kind of like a walking exhibit, and then as well as a dinner and silent auction, and of course our keynote speakers. So we're super excited about it. A lot of planning, and tickets and table sponsorships are still available, and that can be found on our website
as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And that's an event I would definitely like to go to and check that out.
Yeah, for sure. It's we sell out every year. About 400 tickets. So. People know we do it every year, and it's getting bigger, and that's great.
Well, we look forward for you to come back before the event kicks off to let us know a little bit more about it.
I'll be back in January.
Is there anything else that you would like us to know as far as our monthly talk that we do every month?
No, I just appreciate those that tune in and support us and continue to support us, and ultimately continue reporting and stopping the demand. So
I also wanted to say I have a friend, and she wanted me to tell you that she is very, very thankful for you coming in once a month and talking about this, because this is something that we you don't really tune into a radio and hear all the time.
Right.
And she said she really appreciate that, and she says thank you.
Oh, well, that's awesome.
So I told her when I saw you again, I would tell her that.
Yeah,
she said it was really important to her for us to have that discussion that nobody talks about all the time, because that is like one of our biggest issues that we have.
Yeah.
It's sex trafficking.
Right.
And she said thank you very much, because she said we need that discussion, and it's glad it's happening.
Yeah. And it's I get it. We all get it. Those of us that are part of the Red Corps, we get this isn't like the happiest topic to talk about.
Right.
But our future depends on it.
It does. Because some people feel like it's taboo to talk about stuff like that, and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be taboo to talk about.
Right.
Right. It's happening every single day.
I can tell you that when it happens to your child, it's not taboo any longer.
Absolutely.
Right.
Same way I feel about school zones. Everybody knows for a fact I do not like speeding in school zones.
Right.
You can't sit there and say, well, I'm sorry, I was in a rush if you hit a child.
Right.
So there's no excuse on that.
Yeah. Right.
So It's the same thing with our children.
Yeah, and not that I would ever wish that on anybody, of course, but I mean, it's always, that's kind of how it happens. There's tons of things in our lives that we don't pay attention to until it happens to our child or our husband or our wife or our family member.
I don't want to change the subject real quick, but as far as sex trafficking with children, and we know for a fact our kids watch news, TV, they have phones, they can get on the internet anytime, whatever. And to see powerful people, royals, presidents, governors,
right,
dealing with children.
Right.
And when kids see that, and these are supposed to be the examples that,
right,
that they grow up to want to emulate, want to be.
Right.
I mean, how can they see joy into something like that when you see powerful people dealing with kids and knowing that they did, but they deny it, and then nothing happens to them? So it makes them feel like, okay, the powerful you are, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's true. Yeah. Good question. Good question. I think it takes, I always bring it back to the home of it takes a lot of discussion of going on in the home of.
We're going to take a short commercial break, and we'll be right back with some more of this interview with the Red Corps right here on your station. And we're back with more of this interview with the Red Cord right here on your station.
Deciphering what's right and what's wrong. Remembering that we live in a very broken and fallen world.
Yeah.
But that there's still hope for redemption. There's still hope for our future. And ultimately with our kids, they may be looking up to these people, but ultimately they're our future. And I think we need to empower them with that. We need to empower them of like, yeah, this guy you were looking up to did a bad thing. Maybe he's not a bad person, but what he did was bad. If you were ever in that position, how would you have done it differently, right? Mm-hmm. If you ever put in that position, how would you do it differently? You know, empowering them to make a different choice if they were in that position. You know, the saying I say to my kids all the time, and the older ones will still roll their eyes at me, life's about choices.
It is.
Period.
Every second of the day.
Right. I can decide to eat the whole cake or the whole pie. That's my choice, and I'll have a consequence. Like, to just be super simple about it.
Right.
I can choose to watch pornography, buy child pornography, become addicted, and decide to go buy a child to have sex with them. There's going to be a consequence. Whether that's earthly or eternal, you're going to have a consequence.
But it was your choice.
It's still your choice. And that's what I think with our kids anymore, they have to understand. And it's hard for them to understand. They don't have that frontal lobe maturity yet to make all those good choices. But they've got to understand that every choice you make dictates where you're going to be tomorrow.
Absolutely.
You know, or in 5 minutes or an hour or whatever. So I guess using those who have made bad choices as a learning opportunity, not as because we all make bad choices.
We all do.
Right?
Well,
we're all
nobody's
human.
perfect.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Nobody's perfect.
So just how to ask for forgiveness, redeem, make different choices, you know, get back on the right path, that kind of stuff. So I would just say use them as learning experiences.
Absolutely.
Teachable moments, as we call them.
Well, once again, let them know that you have your monthly annual Sunday meeting this Sunday at the Hilton Inn at 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock this Sunday.
So 7 is it 6
yep,
7
just
6
an hour.
Just an hour? Okay.
Yep.
And your annual gala is
January 25th.
Okay.
At the Hilton at 6.
Tickets will be available when?
They're available now.
Okay. And sponsorships are still open.
Yep. Yeah, we have a bunch of different sponsorships, and 2 sponsorships are higher platinum sponsorships. You actually get a VIP hour with Tim Ballard an hour before. And all the Red Cord board members will be there as well. So getting to sit, and that's limited to about 30 people. So it's a very intimate setting with Tim to be able to ask questions and, you know, talk about the rescues that he's done all over the world of rescuing children out of this, and hear his heart and his passion about it. So.
Okay, well, can you give them your information once again for the Red Cord, how they contact, and your Facebook and your phone number?
Yep, so Facebook is just the Red Cord. Same for Instagram, Twitter, and then our website is www.theredcord.org.
Okay.
You can email us. That's also where all the gala tickets are at as well. Facebook message us. That comes directly to me. Answer any questions or set up trainings or inquire about anything else.
Okay. Well, I thank you so much for coming in and us doing our monthly talk. I look forward to seeing you again next month. I look forward to doing this every month.
Yeah, me too. We appreciate it.
Well, you have a good day. Thank you for coming in and letting us educating us a lot more this month.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome. Law for Sale, there you have it. Another wonderful interview with the Red Cord. Ahsha, always a pleasure.
Thanks.
All right. See y'all later. Listen to me, Law for Sale. We'll be right back with some more of your jams right here on your station. It's 97.9 Jams.